Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Presoteric. It's been a couple of days since we did a live stream. We took a couple of days off to get the rest of the course for Mind Virus uploaded. We are extending the pre-order for just a couple of days while we get the last few files updated. So the next couple of chapters are going to be there. But today is going to be a bit more of a rant video, and I've borrowed Kinsey's phone here so that I can actually show you what I'm talking about. And now I need to find it. And this is going to be on something that's been popping up rather frequently on our Facebook feeds that I felt was a very interesting topic to raise. So, hi Israel, and thanks for joining us on this one. I'm just trying to find Kinsey's activity log here so that I can actually find it. So there's a new fad that's going around in which there are qualifications. Sorry, this is taking a little bit for me to actually find this. There are qualifications that are going around specifically for religious, spiritual, and magic, occult related topics. And this is a huge problem when we get to the bottom of it in this live stream. So this is today's live stream. This is going to be a bit of a rant video. So I hope that you'll bear with me so we can actually get to the point of this. So there is a few pages, and it's not just one. There's a couple of different websites that are doing this, and they're promoting a lot on Facebook, and they're getting a lot of attention. I mean, thousands. They're getting thousands of shares, they're getting thousands of comments, thousands of everything. And one of these, and I am actually going to name the one I have here, is Udemy. And this is the first one that we've seen, or the first one I can actually talk to you about. So I'm going to read the post. Designed for therapists and Reiki fans. This course will teach you how to perform crystal Reiki sessions on yourself and others as well as teach. You can become a certified crystal Reiki master. Here are some more details of what you'll learn. How crystals are formed and how those factors influence the energetic metaphysical properties of the crystal. How to choose the most suitable crystals for your crystal Reiki sessions based on different diagnosis. How to perform crystal Reiki self-treatments and crystal Reiki attunement. How to access the energy in your home and how to use crystal Reiki to address any energetic imbalances. Sign up today for your special discount, plus you'll be protected by 100% money-back guarantee. Learn crystal Reiki. Now, a lot of these comments are laughing and angry faces, which you can kind of expect. But when you look at the comments, it really illustrates how big of a problem this is, and I'm going to get into why it's a problem in just a moment. Comment that's near the top. For all of those who don't believe, why do you bother to comment? Why can't you just scroll on by and leave those, leave the post for those who are interested? You won't change your mind, and those who believe it have personally experienced it and know it to be a reality. And there's a lot of responses to this, and some of them are not really that nice, and a lot of them are, taking the piss. They're also pointing out that they're, fighting ignorance in sense of this way. So there's a lot of people who are kind of endorsing it. There's a lot of people who are against it. It's a very polarized post. So here's the thing. I'm not going to read too many of these comments out because we could be here for hours and hours. But a lot of people are saying, look, this is the dumbest shit Facebook has ever tried to sell me. Reiki cannot be taught unless it's learned in person. There's all these kind of varying different opinions on this. Now, here's the problem. The problem isn't that there's people trying to teach Reiki. I'm completely okay with that. I don't particularly subscribe to that Reiki works. I think that the techniques that people use in there are some things that are actual real therapy. So you have like massage therapy and things like that. But most of Reiki, this type of energy manipulation by sitting in front of something and waving your hands and humming and doing all this stuff. Yeah, I'm an expert here. That was a joke. I do not think works. I'm pretty positive that it doesn't. And one of the experiments we're going to do through Presoteric is to test Reiki to see if there's anything behind it. But I personally do not believe that Reiki has any validity to it whatsoever. The problem isn't that people are trying to teach it. I am more than happy for people to say, hey, look, I subscribe to Reiki and I want to teach this stuff. And here's a group that I've created for people to come and learn. Or here, I've created a course that you can buy and learn this course. That's not the part that bothers me. The part that bothers me is the qualification. And I'll tell you why. When you go to a college or you go to a university, and many different places online, in fact, because you can do first aid courses and stuff online, especially if you're renewing a certificate that you have previously gained somewhere else. Those things do have some great validity to them. They're very useful, and they do provide credibility. These, however, do not. Now, when you go to a college or you go to a university, you are trusting in the institute to give you a qualification based on things that are useful. So that when you go to an employer, let's say you're in the medical field and you have some medical degree or PhD or whatever, and you go there, you hand over your qualification, and they make their decision to hire you based on that. People come to you based on that qualification, based on the fact that you are qualified. People will make their judgment to give you their money or to come to your practice based on that qualification, because let's face it, we all want our experts. If you go to a doctor, you want someone who's an expert. If you go to a dentist, you want someone who's an expert. If you go to any single job, you don't want somebody who got their degree in plumbing online at some random place that has no credibility to it to come and try and fix your plumbing. The same with your electric, the same with your joinery. All of these qualifications have a purpose, and that is to ensure that the consumer gets what they're paying for, gets a service. That credibility is important to us as consumers. However, when you start going into the religious, spiritual aspect of that, you now are taking that qualification and what that means and potentially turning everybody doubting in those qualifications. Now, of course, there's always the saying of question everybody, do your research, do your background checks, make sure they are qualified and they have qualifications from a reputable establishment. But people don't. We as a society put value on qualifications as a whole, much to the point that while employers are getting less involved with qualifications, people are still leaving school, leaving high school, leaving whatever, secondary school, and going to get jobs that require qualifications because we value them as a society, because they mean something. It gives us credibility. It builds our reputation as an employee. However, religious stuff, I'm actually not too bothered about. If you're planning to become a priest or in any specific organized religion, then okay, I can make an exception there, because those things have their own training schemes in which you will get qualified to be a priest or a father or a minister or whatever. When it's a case of learning for knowledge, if that makes sense, rather than application. So, for example, a priest, while they are going to have to learn certain rites and whatnot, and bear in mind these things to an extent are regulated, most of what they're learning is their doctrine. And that's what they're going to pass on to people who come to learn. Things like Reiki, tarot, learning that is fine. Being qualified for that is totally different. Now, regardless of whether you're for government or against government, now personally, I'm somewhere in between. I think that governments definitely have their benefits, but you could consider me to be some way anti-government. I think that governments do more damage than good, but I also think that they do provide useful services and useful policies. Nonetheless, every qualification that you get comes from a regulation. So that you can't just go online, grab a course in fucking neuroscience, and then try to be a brain surgeon. Why? Because you're going to damage people. And that's why those things are in place. Our community is already suffering from a pollution. I've said this many times, which is why we've just released Mind Virus. Mind Virus isn't going to give you a certificate, a qualification for you to show anybody. It's going to give you information for you to base your practice on. But it also gives you a chance to go, you know what, I don't agree with this. Because most things in this industry are subjective. The reason Presoteric exists is to try and find a level of objectivity that applies to everyone. And maybe from there we can start to build something more objective that has a foundation that maybe in the future could be regulated in the right way. Now, I'm not saying this is a goal. I'm not saying this is something we're working towards, but it is something that is in the possible future. But not for us as a company, us as a community. It's a community effort. But we have to be smart about it. What these qualifications ultimately do is put into question every single qualification that exists. Because if we start handing out qualifications like they're candy, they lose their value. And we're going to get to a point in this community where we can't trust anybody. And we're already on the edge of that. Because it seems that there are so many snake oils that are being sold by various people and various companies in this community that everybody has this huge level of doubt to every single person who has a business. Never mind the fact that our community, we talk about normalization and trying to bring this into the outside world. But the problem is that we can't even come together as a community to fix these problems. Because everybody is out there for themselves, to see what they can get from people, to take their money and to abuse their perceived authority. These online courses, I am fine with them existing. And you should be too. The problem lies in the fact that they're giving out these certificates as if they mean something. So that when they open a business on your front door in this community, they can say, well, I'm certified in Reiki. Now, the problem is that you guys probably aren't gullible enough to fall for that shit. But what about the thousands of people who flock to our community every year? All these new people who come in and go, wait a minute, you can get qualifications in this? Then what do? They take the courses and then they get qualified. And then soon we have a community of thousands that have these qualifications that they think mean something, which we know means nothing. And that changes the whole direction that us as a community take. It's very easy to think that, well, one idea or one method, one qualification isn't going to make a difference. No, it won't. But those things will build traction. And eventually, we may be a community that's full of fake qualifications. And then when the outside world looks in, they're going to say, well, we don't want to have anything to do with it. Because clearly we don't value anything that's actually credible. These qualifications are pointless. And the reason they're pointless is because the courses that people make that give these qualifications are highly subjective. A college course, let's say on psychology for an example, isn't made by one single person. It's not made by a single team. Those things have to be regulated. And that involves a whole load of people to make sure that the information is correct, that it's beneficial, and that it applies. When one company decides it's going to make a course, that's not regulated. That's a group of people who will probably agree with each other because they're being paid. That's not good information. That's information that's potentially damaging. Now, think about this on the other side. A lot of people in this community are easily influenced, and I hate to say that, and I don't mean it as an insult. A lot of people in this community want to believe. And as such, we're easily moved, we're easily manipulated into believing something that may not be true. There's going to be someone out there, potentially someone very young, like I used to be when I first came into this community. Someone who's just out the door, 16 years old, wants to start looking into the occult. And then they find this course on Reiki. And maybe he comes from a family who are, I don't know, maybe, again, a little bit gullible, a little bit easily moved. And so this kid who's maybe on antidepressants decides he's going to stop taking his medication because you know what? He has Reiki. Now, a lot of you might be saying, well, that's a bit far-fetched, is it? But is it? How many people in this community use alternative methods of medicine without actually doing the research? How many horror stories do we have as a community of people stopping taking their medication because somebody told them that this fucking crystal is going to do the job? And I apologize for my language, but I try to keep this as professional as possible, but we have to realize that we have a problem here in this community. And unless we start working together to combat this bullshit, all we're going to do is see more good people get scammed and more good people get hurt. And this is why I believe that Presoteric is so important to that effort. And I don't see any other community or company making an effort to combat this. And I'm not saying combat them by going and throwing negative comments or whatever, but by putting something objective rather than telling everyone our personal experiences. Everybody has a personal experience, the same like they have an asshole. An opinion isn't going to change our community. It's just another story. And if you want to write storybooks, go for it. Look at all the companies that are publishing books. How many of them tell you how ritual works? Oh, they'll tell you rituals, and they'll give you all these list of stuff that you need to buy and get. How many of them tell you, look, this is how ritual works, and this is how you fill in the blanks? Nobody, apart from us. And the reason that we do that is so that you don't have to keep buying stuff. All these companies that want to sell you the same ritual in every different book they publish. Do you know why? Because they want your money. Because they care about taking your money more than they care about educating you. We're not going to tell you, you need this, 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 and this to do this ritual. We're going to say, look, here's the blueprint, here's how it works, and this is what you need to do to learn how to fill in those blanks. It's also the reason why every single company will never release advanced material. Because there's a sucker born every minute. You've got something for everyone. P.T. Barnum. Which ironically is where the Barnum effect comes from. A little research for people who don't know what that is. These qualifications and this fake credibility is going to continue to destroy our reputation as a community. A reputation that is already frowned upon. Now, okay, some of you might not care. Oh, okay, who cares what other people think? But how long is it going to be before these qualifications get to a point that maybe the government does step in and says, well, you know what, if we're going to start, we're going to make it so that nobody can do any courses, that you're not allowed to sell. It's now against the law to sell spiritual related courses or magic and occult related courses because you're giving people fake qualifications and they're killing themselves, they're hurting themselves, they're damaging themselves and family around them. Now, okay, we're thinking worst case scenarios here, but it's still a possibility. The effect that these things have are not just immediately obvious. And only us can make the effort to do something about it. Now, I know I'm ranting, so I apologize for that. I know we're on 20 minutes of me just rambling here. We need to be an example of something better than this. And we can all do it. We've all got it in us to be good people. And the best way to do this is to not support them. Don't support people who will sell you the same shit with a different label on it. Don't support these fake qualifications. If you want qualifications, go and get one in psychology from an actual college. Get one from a place that's reputable, that's credible, and that isn't made by a single company that's out there to scam you of money. I am sick to death of seeing good people, good people, being taken advantage of. And this is why we work so hard to produce the content that we do. Because it's through us and through our work, and it's not just us as a team, it's as a community, the Presoteric community, to take magic and occultism and figure out what is objective, what is subjective, and give that to everyone. Everything that's in our courses is extra. Every single piece of vital information we post free for you. Our courses are just for people who want some extra stuff. I don't want to see good people get scammed more than they already have. And I've been a victim of that. For 10 years, I was looking for real information and was lied to by every single teacher and mentor I had. Some of them deliberately, some of them unintentionally. But together, we can be an example of something better than this. And make people aware that this is happening. Because it's people like that that are going to make our job to make this community better, to progress it, to evolve it much, much harder. And that job's already increasingly difficult. We don't need any more fake qualifications, and we don't need more people in authority, in positions of authority, spreading fake credibility because they want their ego stroked. I will be the first to admit, I have been the first to admit that I do not know everything. Presoteric doesn't know everything. There is plenty of stuff that we still have to learn. There's plenty of stuff that we still have to investigate and gather data on. Which is why everything that we post is made specifically at a high standard. And we're going to continue to do that. Brian Draven, thanks for commenting, dude. He's made a comment here. Udemy allows anyone to teach classes on pretty much anything. It's a good platform for people to be able to make some extra dollars with their knowledge by creating videos and classes. But when you're offering a certification in certain areas, like you said, this can be dangerous on different levels. It also devalues what being certified means. I had a long conversation once about a year ago with them about offering some classes on historical as well as traditional witchcraft. I had no intention of offering certification. It was just going to be many videos in a series, but I didn't do it simply because you can watch most of those kinds of stuff for free on YouTube. I recently looked into some courses there for using Unity, the game engine, and they offered certification upon completion. And I wondered how credible that would be to an employer, but that is different in some ways. And then you've said it exactly right. Those things are devaluing actual certification. And it's missteps like that which are going to cause us to hit some serious, serious bad things. People getting hurt, our community getting regulated in ways that we don't need or want. Anyway, I'm going to leave it here before this gets too much, but I wanted to share this with you guys because I felt this was important and I needed to get this out. So I'm sorry this was a bit of a rant video. I know it was pretty long. I do apologize, but new things are coming. We just got our new blog out today. Something practical today, talking about the difference between meditation and trance, because for some reason people think that you need to use meditation to get into trance. I've been getting this question asked constantly throughout my career, and I thought today, thanks to Sawyer for reminding me I was going to discuss it. So I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to go and relax a bit now, get this uploaded to YouTube, and I will see you guys in the next video, which should be up tomorrow. So let's redefine the divine. Redefine it. That's important. To take it out of this old bullshit and take it into something new. And again, apologies for my rather strong language in here. This is a very emotional video, emotionally charged video. I will see you in the next video. Let's redefine the divine together. We are Presoteric.